I want to share something important with you today. It's a message for the collective, and it connects to the 12 by 12 portal message I shared earlier. The core of the message is this: you are about to be redirected. What does being redirected mean? When I say you're about to be redirected, I mean that God is about to guide you to a new path. This might not be the path you expected or even the one you thought you wanted, but it's the path God knows is best for you. And here's the most important part: God's redirection is His protection. It's natural to have your own plans. We all have dreams and goals for where we want to be in life. Maybe you've told yourself, by this age, I'll be married, or by this time, I'll have my dream job, start a business, or achieve this or that. And that's great. It's important to dream and set goals. But what I need you to understand is this: while it's good to have your plans, you also need to leave room for God's plans. Don't hold on to your own ideas so tightly that you block what God is trying to do in your life. Why should we leave room for God's plans? Let me explain why this is so important. Sometimes we become so focused on what we want that we don't see the bigger picture. We get attached to our plans, and when things don't work out the way we hoped, we feel frustrated. We might even blame others or think the devil is working against us. But often, what's really happening is that God is stepping in to redirect us. He's guiding us away from situations that aren't meant for us. He's protecting us from things that might harm us or waste our time. Here's an example from my own life. There were times when I had plans that seemed perfect to me. I was so sure they would work out. But when they didn't, I felt disappointed and even angry. I thought people were trying to block me, and I blamed them for getting in my way. Looking back now, I realized that those blockages were actually God's way of protecting me. He was keeping me from making mistakes. Some of the people who told me no or discouraged me from doing certain things were actually helping me without me even realizing it. My journey of redirection let me share a bit more about my story. In 2019, I had my first spiritual awakening. Around that time, someone told me, "What if you became a minister or shared messages from God?" I immediately rejected the idea. I thought, no way, not me. That's not who I am. Back then, I was living a totally different life. I was always out partying, having fun, and enjoying myself. The idea of becoming a spiritual leader or sharing messages felt so far from who I thought I was. But then, fast forward to 2021, someone else came to me and said, "I see you speaking to people and inspiring them." Again, I thought, that's not my path. Why do people keep saying this? What I didn't realize was that God was using these people to prepare me. He was planting seeds for what was to come. If someone had told me back then that I'd be here today sharing messages like this, I would have laughed and said it was impossible. The importance of trusting God's timing, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that God's timing is always perfect. We might have plans for our lives, but sometimes those plans don't align with God's timing. And that's okay. For example, I used to have everything planned out. I told myself by the age of 25, I'll be married. I'll have my life together and everything will be perfect. But when I turned 25, my life looked nothing like I had imagined. In fact, that was the year my plans completely fell apart. Instead of getting married or achieving the goals I had set for myself, I had a deep spiritual awakening. It was a challenging time, but it changed my life for the better. Now, looking back, I see that God had a much bigger plan for me, one that I couldn't have seen at the time. This is why I'm encouraging you to stay open. Even if things don't go the way you expect, trust that God knows what He's doing. His plans are always greater than ours, even if we don't understand them in the moment. How to balance your plans with God's plans. So, how do you balance having your own plans while leaving room for God's guidance? Here are a few practical steps. Write down your goals. Take some time to write down what you want for 2024. Be specific about your dreams and aspirations. Whether it's career goals, personal growth, or relationships, put it all down on paper. Pray and surrender once you've written down your goals. Take them to God in prayer. Say, "God, these are the things I want, but I trust you to guide me." If your plans are different, I'm open to following them. Stay flexible. Understand that your plans might change. Be willing to adapt if things don't go the way you envisioned. Trust that when God redirects you, it's for your good. Look for signs, pay attention to the people, opportunities, and situations around you. Sometimes God speaks to us through others or through unexpected events. Be open to these signs and take them seriously. Real life lessons about redirection. Let me share another story to illustrate this. There was a time when I moved to a new city because I thought it would be the perfect place to succeed. Everyone said it was the place to be, like a New York kind of vibe where dreams come true. But when I got there, I struggled. I couldn't find stability, and I had a hard time even meeting my basic needs. It was a tough experience, and eventually my family encouraged me to move back home. At first, I felt like a failure. I thought, why didn't this work out? But now I see that God was redirecting me. That move taught me valuable lessons, and leaving that city opened the door to better opportunities. Why redirection feels hard? Redirection isn't always easy. Sometimes it feels like rejection or failure. But the truth is, God's redirection is never meant to harm us. It's meant to protect us and guide us to something better. Think about it like this. If you're driving and the road ahead is blocked, you have to take a detour. At first, the detour might seem inconvenient or frustrating, but it eventually leads you to your destination safely. That's how God's redirection works. Preparing for the unexpected. As I share this message with you, I want to prepare your mind. Many of you are about to be redirected in ways you didn't see coming. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but trust that it's all part of God's plan. You might have plans for where you want to live, what job you want, or the kind of relationships you want. And while it's good to dream, be prepared for the possibility that God might have a different plan for you. Finding peace through God's plan. When I returned home, I experienced a peace that I can't fully describe. There was a calmness inside me, a deep sense of relief. It was like everything that had been bothering me was suddenly lifted. Before coming home, I had my own plans. I thought that staying away and pushing myself harder was the right way. I thought I had to struggle and fight through everything by myself. But God had a different plan for me. And once I followed His guidance, things started to make sense in ways I didn't expect. He spoke to me through my sisters. It was as if they were His messengers, and through them, I heard the call to come back home. Once I listened to God's guidance, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. It was like my mind, which had been racing with questions and doubts, finally stopped. I was at ease. Since then, I've realized that sometimes our plans may not be the best ones for us, even if we think they are. God's plan for us is always better, even when it's not what we expected or wanted. It's not always easy to understand at first, but it's always the right path. I want to share this message with you because I know that many of you might be going through something similar. Maybe you feel lost or unsure about the direction your life is taking. Maybe you feel like you're not where you want to be, and that's okay. You're not alone in this. The truth is, we often don't realize that the struggles we face and the unexpected turns we take are all part of a bigger picture, a picture that only God can see clearly. His purpose for us is greater than anything we could plan for ourselves. Understanding God's redirection, God's plan for you might not always line up with your own. This is something that's hard to accept, especially when you've worked so hard for something, only to see things change unexpectedly. But I want you to know that every change, every redirection in your life is part of God's protection. When we go through life, we may think we know what's best for us, but God knows us better than we know ourselves. He sees the whole picture, and sometimes He will guide us in ways we don't fully understand. I know it's difficult to accept, especially when we compare our lives to others. It can seem like everyone around us is moving forward while we're stuck in the same place. Your friends might be starting businesses, traveling the world, or accomplishing things you dream of. It can make you feel like you're falling behind, like you're not where you're supposed to be. But let me tell you this, God has a different plan for you, and that plan is unique to your life. The path God is leading you on might not be the same as your friends' paths, and that's okay. Your journey is just as important, even if it looks different. Trust in God's plan for you. Even when it doesn't make sense, trust that He is guiding you to where you need to be. Sometimes it might feel like you're wasting time or not getting anywhere, but trust that God's timing is perfect. There are moments in life when we're supposed to wait, when we're supposed to learn, and when we're supposed to grow. These moments might feel frustrating, but they are preparing you for the future God has for you. I used to feel like I wasn't achieving anything because I saw others succeeding. I thought maybe I was a failure. I wondered if I was making a mistake by not following the same path. But now I understand that God's purpose for me is different from others, and His timing is better than mine. God had to take me through a period of isolation to wake me up to who I really am, to my true calling and purpose. If you're in a similar season, don't be discouraged. God is using this time to shape you, to prepare you for the purpose He has designed just for you. The importance of trusting God's path. It's natural to feel lost or confused when life doesn't go the way you planned. You might feel like everything is falling apart, and that's okay. You are allowed to feel disappointed. But I want to remind you that when things don't go your way, it's not the end of your journey. It could be the beginning of something new, something even better. God's redirection is always for your protection. Sometimes the doors that close in your life are actually saving you from something that wasn't meant for you. Life can be hard, and we all have our struggles. But what I've learned is that these challenges are not meant to break us. They are meant to build us up. Every time you face a challenge, remember that God is using it to grow your strength, your character, and your faith. Even when you face disappointments, remember that God is with you through it all. When things don't go according to your plan, it doesn't mean you failed. It means that God is guiding you to something even better. God's path for you may not always be easy, but it is always the best path. When you face uncertainty, when you feel like you're stuck, know that God is still working in your life. Trust that He will lead you through those tough times. The journey may not always be clear, but God will always be with you, guiding you every step of the way. The importance of patience and faith sometimes, when things aren't going the way we want, it's easy to start doubting ourselves and our faith. You might wonder why God isn't answering your prayers or why things aren't happening as you expected. But I want to encourage you to keep going, even when it feels hard. Trust in God's plan and timing. He sees the bigger picture and He knows what's best for you. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. When you feel like you're stuck or not moving forward, remember that God is working behind the scenes, preparing you for something great. He's teaching you patience, trust, and perseverance. The hard times are shaping you into the person you're meant to be. Even though you might not understand everything right now, trust that God is leading you to the place where you are supposed to be. It's easy to compare yourself to others, especially when you see them succeeding while you're still struggling. But don't forget that everyone's journey is different. You don't know what others are going through behind the scenes. They might be facing their own challenges, just like you. Instead of focusing on what others are doing, focus on your own path. Trust that God has a unique plan for your life, and His plan will unfold at the right time. Letting go of control and trusting God, one of the hardest things to do is let go of control. We like to be in charge of our own lives, to make our own decisions, and to set our own course. But the truth is, there are some things we simply can't control. There are moments in life when we have to let go and trust God with the outcome. When things are out of our hands, it's important to trust that God is still in control. Let go of the need to control every part of your life. There are things you can manage, but there are also things that are beyond your control. When life feels uncertain, give those uncertainties to God. Let Him guide you through the unknown. Trust that He is leading you to exactly where you need to be. Sometimes, letting go of control is the hardest thing we can do, but it's also the most freeing. God's plan for you is better than anything you could ever plan for yourself. Even when things don't go as you expected, trust that God is using those moments to shape you. Let go of the need to control every aspect of your life and trust God's timing. He knows what's best for you, and He will guide you through every season of your life. The seasons of life is made up of different seasons. There are times of joy, and there are times of struggle. There are seasons of growth, and there are seasons of rest. Every season is important. Every season has its purpose. The key is to trust God through all the seasons, whether they are good or bad. When you're going through tough times, remember that it's just a season. It will pass. And when you're in a good season, be thankful and use that time to prepare for the next season. God has already promised that there will be different seasons in your life. There will be times to laugh, and there will be times to cry. There will be times to live fully, and there will be times to rest. But in all of those seasons, God will be with you. He will guide you through every season, whether it's a season of joy or a season of difficulty. Conclusion: trust in God's direction as you move through life. Remember that God's plan for you is greater than anything you could ever imagine. There will be times when you face struggles, disappointment, and uncertainty, but trust that God is with you every step of the way. His plan for you is always for your good, even if it doesn't look the way you expect. Let go of the need to control your life and trust God's plan. Focus on your own path and stop comparing yourself to others. God is leading you to the place where you are meant to be. Stay close to Him, keep seeking His guidance, and trust that He will provide the wisdom you need. Every experience, whether good or bad, is shaping you for the future God has prepared for you. Keep trusting Him, and you will find peace, purpose, and fulfillment.